Welcome to our fireside chat on the couch with Backbase. Here with me today is Iman Ghodosi, Vice President for Asia Pacific, Australia and New Zealand at Backbase. And we will discuss a very interesting topic that we hear about not just from our members, but also from the market. And that is the rise of engagement banking in Australia. Welcome, Iman.
Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks for having me.
Iman, let's start off. How is the change in consumer behaviour affecting the way that they engage with banks? And can you please tell us a bit more about this growing trend of engagement banking?
Sure. Maybe before I get started, I'd like to sort of acknowledge the heritage and the lengths some of your members have been servicing the communities. So, you guys have been in the business for about 150 years, right? And what we've seen throughout that time, 150 years ago, there was no computers. So it was very personalized. It was pen and paper. Everybody knew everybody, right? And around, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, computers were introduced, technology was introduced, things were starting to get modernized. And banks really were one of the first digital transformative industries. This brought scale, this brought new products, it brought efficiencies. But what it also meant was that by allowing all these things to happen, we lost a little bit of touch with the actual customer, right? And now over the last decade or so, a lot of organizations are trying to address this. And what we typically see is they bolt on a digital strategy to the old to the systems and the processes they've got, but ultimately it's still same old with a bit of a digital front end, so a bit of a lipstick on a pig. Per se on that. Now, why is this important, or what are we trying to address here? So what we've seen, especially in the last couple of years, even with the pandemic and just changed our daily lives. Customers want a different experience. They want that Netflix, that Uber experience. And what I mean by that is they want anything, anytime, anywhere on their terms. And when it comes to their financials, they actually think exactly the same. Right, so they want things on their terms, and they want to be able to engage with the organisations that are custodians of their finances pretty much the same way. Now, this is what we call engagement banking, right? And really, it's the next phase of digital banking, where hyper-personalisation and hyper-personalised engagements and experiences are built around the lives of the customer, right? I'll give you a couple of examples, a couple of anecdotes, right? So young people of today, they don't go out looking for a home loan, right? They want the first house to start a family. So they're looking at building an engaging relationship and have a great experience with somebody that can give them that, right? The grandparents, right? And I've got this with my parents trying to set up my kids. So the grandparents aren't looking for like a savings account, right? And, they're not going to sit there and look at all the different options that they can find on your website. They really just want to contribute to the financial future of their grandkids. So this really, if we start thinking about it in that sense, this really is a great opportunity for COBA members to start engaging with their members like they have since day one. There's already a sense of loyalty with these customers that maybe some of the big fours don't have. But how do they help become a bigger part of your members' lives and really engage and address what it is that they're looking for?
Iman, you're right. We do as a sector have a long and proud history. But the transformation you're talking about, that's all very well and good. But getting to that ideal state of human and digital can't be easy, especially if you want to develop engaging experiences to drive loyalty and onboard new customers. So what's your view on this, and how can our sector approach this challenge?
Look, really good question. I want to preface this by something I share with everybody all the time, right? I'm in technology. We come from a technology company, but look, technology really at the end of the day is just an enabler, right? What we're seeing is it's a transformative change, but that change and disruption really needs to happen from within the bank, and it needs to happen within the leadership team, but also within every engagement that the employees have with the customer, right? Now, we need to empower the employees. We need to empower our people to be able to embrace this change. They should be able to take risks. They should be able to disrupt themselves, right? And that's where we're seeing a lot of great ideas and a lot of great initiatives come out. right? And this really will help you build and shape the culture of your bank, right? You know, and as I said, technology is just going to be the enabler, but you need to embrace that technology as well. So as you're looking at bringing new people in, what can they help you around the technology, right? You know, ultimately, at the end of the day, we need to put the customer in the center of everything, right? Everything that we do, every decision that we take, the customer needs to be in the center, and not, we shouldn't be thinking about profits, right? You know, my other tip is experiment, right? Rapidly experiment and iterate as you go along, right? You're not going to get this right, but to be able to test what works and what doesn't, and be able to pivot very quickly, will give you that competitive edge, and will give you your members what they want from you, right? And we see this quite interestingly in the technology sector, and that's why the technology center has been able to, you know, rapidly transform itself, because it's not fearful of failure, right? Fail is actually embraced upon, right? And if you fail quickly, you pivot, you move on, and you get better and better at it, right? And I think that is really a great opportunity for your member organizations to be able to embrace. And then lastly, I think you want to be able to partner with like-minded organizations, right? You're not alone in this journey. The world has changed. It definitely has changed, of course. But, you know, don't think about, you know, getting everything from one or two partners, right? Loyalty is good, but there's a lot of choice out there, and there's a lot of options out there. And technology, again, has enabled and lowered the barriers to entry for a lot of good fintechs to come up with, you know, best of breed solutions and applications that will address your requirements. And these things most often are based on open standards. They talk to each other and really give you that competitive edge without having to spend, you know, millions and millions and, you know, years and years of build.
Thank you, Iman. And certainly you talk about the customer being at the center of everything we do, and that's absolutely a concept that resonates with and goes to the heart of our sector. Now, as we know, consumer demands evolve, and we also see the technology landscape moving at a rapid pace. Backbase, I understand, works with over 150 banks globally. So what advice would you give to customer-owned banks keen to keep pace with the changing needs of the industry and consumers?
Yeah, look, we did a bit of work with Forrester earlier in the year, and you know, one of the questions we did put out in our survey was, you know, what are some of the challenges that you're facing today, and you look at facing into the future around predicting what your customer needs, and what are some of the barriers for you? And interestingly enough, you know, 63% of the respondents said, you know, keeping pace with the evolving expectations of what the customer needs was on the top of their minds, right? And the reason behind that is, and this is what we see all the time, the current systems and processes are not built for what we call the engagement era, right? They're built for the traditional product-centric banks that then had a digital strategy bolted onto that. So, you know, when you start thinking about what does the customer really want and how quickly we can react to what the customer wants, this outdated or legacy monolithic technology is really holding the members back in trying to address what some of the needs of the customers are. And then you see that opportunity in the market with the new kids on the block and the new entrants, right? The neos and the digital banks. But also you're seeing technology companies come through and embed financial products in the customer journey. So it's coming at both ends, but you know, ultimately it's a really, really good opportunity. It's an exciting space to be able to reconnect with the customers and understand what they want, and through the use of technology, be able to win back the trust and the loyalty that your members have enjoyed over the last 150 or so years. Now, if you look at that, and sometimes we call this the multiplier effect in engagement banking, right? So if you can leverage your existing strength, right? So you've got the relationships today, right? So if you think about the digitals and the neos, the new entrants into the market, they don't have that, right? The customer-owned banks already have that, so you know, they're already winning at that. You know, and then if you can build your journeys around the customer, right, and the flows around what the customer needs, right, and take off the market or off the shelf, what some of the capabilities are in some of the fintechs, and partner with, as I mentioned before, some of the best of breed technology players, you can really build an engaging experience for your members and build a rewarding relationship that will pay off for years and years to come with your members.
Iman from Backbase, you've given us plenty to think about. Thank you so much for joining us for this fireside chat today.
Right. Thank you for having me on, Stephanie, and great fireplace in the virtual world.
Oh, yours too. Nice and warm.
Thank you. Cheers.
See you.